Abuju Squabic Mujagwas and Dejnikos, Shiken no them, Kochichin Donjaba. There's a lot more that I should say, but I guess this is just kind of mainly for artists, native artists. I think one of the most important things for us is to understand a lot of the things that we're painting and a lot of the things that we're doing. I'm just cleaning up this beaver here. So a lot of like what we do is just based on our connections with the animals and with creation. So and we paint a lot of these animals, you know, that especially like this here beaver that I trapped, this Samick, you know, and a part of me for woodland art is knowing these things, knowing these connections, knowing what's inside of this animal, to fully know what I'm doing for the X-ray imagery. It's also knowing the stories for these animals, and our sacred stories and our way of life. So I trapped this one on our First Nation, the Magnetawan First Nation. Got some seeds and stuff inside of him, but he also was caught in a 330 conibear, so he was caught across the back here, and the other end of the trap was hit his nose. But you know, we give thanks more than anything to these animals. You know, we love them, and we're grateful for the sacrifice that they made so that we can continue and carry forward our culture, you know, and live the same way that our ancestors have since time immemorial. But another thing is to know about their anatomy. So look at the front 5 here. There is a webbing between them, but it's very, very small. So it's almost like our hands. It's pretty much the same as our hands. The bottom has a pad like any other animal. If we look in the back, you notice that the back is 10 times the size, and they're webbed right up to the toenail. There's fur sort of on it, but we don't use this fur. We cut around the ankle, and depending on where you're from, they're butchered and they're managed differently. In some places, the skeletons are kept intact and they're hung back in a tree. Where I'm from, in Treaty 3, there are 7 parts of the beaver that we put back in the water, and we do that without making a splashing sound, because even though they have small ears, you can hear very, very well. So when I went to put my trap in the water, before I did, I offered my tobacco, and I asked them to beg. I begged for them to have pity on us, so that we can do these things, so that we can maintain our culture, so that we can, you know, keep up with the Anishinaabe way. The other thing I think is important to know, flip him over here, big beaver, probably about close to 50 pounds. But this is from here to here. That's about the same size as a chicken leg, right there. And then it comes to their paw. So this is also fully in fur, all the way up to like their wrist, basically. So they are really, they don't have shoulders. They just have that little piece there. And the rest here this is their rib cage. Right here, and this is where the other side of the trap squeezed it. So this is all these ribs are crushed, and it's but that's the bottom of the rib cage right there. Then you go back, and it's almost the same thing, but this one is like the size of a turkey leg from here to here. And that's like, he's kind of got a lot of rigor mortis going on, but that's the kind of the anatomy of Mr. Amek here. And those are things that I think us as Indigenous artists should be aware of, and should be, I think, should show as a importance, our knowledge of these animals and our connection to them too, right? This one had died in the trap, and probably not long after I'd set it. So it had stayed in the water overnight. When I set my traps, I only set them for one night. Because I'm trying to eat them, right? Like, I'm trying to get food, but I've been sick from them, from eating them, from having been in the trap for too long. So I would try to eat them when they're just an hour or two. So I try to get there at first light in the morning to check my traps. I only usually set 4 or 5 at a time, because if sometimes you never know, right? I've done that once, and I meant to get 1 beaver, and I got 4. And it's not that it's a waste, it's just that, I don't need to take that many animals. There's also a responsibility with trapping that, and all harvesting, that we don't talk about enough, and that's the balance that these animals create. So when I trap, I don't just trap. I know how many beavers have been taken from each colony, and I don't take more than 2 a year. Unless those animals have turned into a nuisance, and a lot of the times what we have to do is remove the entire colony, because they're flooding roadways or railways or our infrastructure. So it's kind of like an ongoing battle between us and them in that sense. But they're our older relatives. They're one of our oldest relatives. There's pictures of giant beavers in many different places on the rock walls. So it's important to know that, and to honor that these are the descendants of the Ice Age fauna and the giants from times before us. And we give thanks, we give thanks to him for sacrificing his life. We make sure that we always think that, and we always are grateful for it. And we also have to know about the medicines that they carry for us. There's a lot of medicine a lot of traditional medicines for us Anishinaabe people that the beaver carries. So it's important to do that, to harvest that, and to take that in a good way, and hand that off to people who know how to use it and use it properly. Use these things in a good way. And we thank the beaver for that. We thank it for that sacrifice that it made for us, so that we can harvest the medicines, and so that we can continue our way of life. It's really important that we're able to do this, and that we're able to continue, living the lives our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents lived. And for me especially, and for a lot of us, I think it's important for us to continue to trap, just to respect our ancestors, to respect the way of life that they lived. For myself especially, I know that my grandfather was hidden from the residential school on a trap line, and he didn't have to go because of that. But it wasn't long after that, the next generation, they figured it out, and they started coming after the kids in float planes, and started taking them from the trap lines. So it's trapping that help my family maintain our culture. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my parents and my grandparents and my great grandparents and the struggles that they had, and that the beaver helped us through that, through trapping, through hunting, through fishing, because the medicine that they carry is loved and respected by all animals in the bush. And we're really grateful for that. And we're also aware of how much damage we can cause by taking beavers. If we take too many beavers from an area, the beavers might abandon that place. And then we have to be aware of what's going to happen to the water and the water levels. Because there's just plants, there's animals, there's fish, all reliant on the rivers, the ponds, and the waterways that the beavers create. This one's a little bit older here, so you get some white hairs coming through here. He's big too, he's probably about 50 pounds. And he's absolutely a gorgeous, gorgeous color. I'm gonna flip him over here again. Absolutely gorgeous. And so I try to talk to them too about my intentions and the purpose for taking his life. Unfortunately, I'm not able to eat it. But what I can do is make the offerings I was taught to make, or I can put the carcass in the freezer and save it for trapping in the summer or in the winter time. So yeah, I've got some decisions to make here. So I'm gonna say miigwech for listening to me ramble on here, and especially miigwech to this beaver, miigwech to this animal for giving its life, so that I could talk about these things and share these things, and what my intentions are at this point is to take his hide and stretch it on a willow hoop and tan it, and then paint on it, just the way my master wanted, the late great Isidore Watto. So yeah, that's my intention. And I also have some friends who run squat lodges, so the Wijanyuk, or the beaver caster, will be passed on to those men. So yeah, thank you. Miigwech.